Well, the best one was in the winter time. A lot of times when my brother Gene would want to go to sleep there, he'd tell me, he says, go up and warm up the bed there, Abe, and I'll come up in a little while and tell you a story. So I'd have to go up and get the bed warmed up. And he'd come up and he'd tell me a little story, and then he'd kick me out of bed. Because he slept with my brother Al. So there was no room there for me.
Did you sleep with Uncle Steve?
Well, I was small at that time. I used to sleep with my mother for quite a few years when I was small. And then I moved in a bed by myself over in a room.
We've covered a lot of ground. We've only been talking for 25 minutes or so.
I'm trying to think.
We got Calumet, we got the kids.
Big Rock, Big Hill.
Oh, the big rock is out in the old cow pasture there. When we were kids, we used to walk out there and play on that rock. Sometimes even carve, take a nail or something and scratch into the rock, scratch your initials or something in or some saying on a rock up there. There's a heck of a big rock sticking out of the ground up there.
You have to watch out for bears.
Well, at that time, I don't think there was any bears around like they are now. There's quite a few bears, and you even got cougars up here now. I seen one year when we was out picking blueberries there. I come around a rock pile out on an old abandoned farm there, and he was on one side, and when he heard me, he took off and he ran kind of in a northerly direction from when he heard me, and where that thing was really moving and his tail was straight out, and he was putting a distance between us. I'm glad that he was that way instead of coming after me, or I wouldn't be here to tell you that.
What's your favorite thing about up north in Calumet? And would you ever move downstate?
Oh, I like it up in the Upper Peninsula here. I was down in Detroit for a few years. I worked in a steel plant down there. I come back up here, took a leave of absence from down there to see if I could come back to work in the mines up here because I worked in a mine before I went down there. And he took me back, so I wrote to the steel company I worked for. I turned in my time and didn't go back to Detroit since. Well, I went down there for one trip in 58, I guess, and then when was it? Sometimes in the 70s, I think we went down to Flint and made a trip from Flint to LaSalle, Illinois to visit my sister and then come back up through Wisconsin, back up into the North Country of Michigan, where it's like God's country up here. All the nieces and nephews love it up here.
What do you call people who live in the Lower Peninsula?
What's that?
What do you call people who live in the Lower Peninsula?
Well, I don't call them anything. They're ordinary people, I imagine. There's some, well, we got some of them kind of people up here too, some of the goofballs, but most of the people as a whole I think are pretty good.
You can call them trolls?
Call them who?
Trolls?
Trolls? No. I don't call nobody nothing. As long as you don't call me late for supper.